Welcome, students. Today's video lesson is going to review some of the body systems we've been learning about in science class up to this point in the year. As you remember from class, we've been talking about how there are many body systems that are working together to help maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is when your body maintains a stable internal environment for your cells, basically keeping them cozy and happy despite what's going on in the world around you. Today we're going to focus on 3 of those body systems, and then we're going to talk about how those body systems specifically work together to maintain homeostasis. We're going to start off by reviewing 3 terms that we've been talking about. When we talk about structure in today's lesson, we're talking about the what. What are the main parts of this body system? So we'll talk about organs and structures. We're then going to talk about function. Function is the how. How does this body system support homeostasis and keep us alive? Then we're going to talk about specific examples. And for each example, we're going to try to connect one of the whats to one of the hows. We're going to talk about one of the organs or structures, and we'll talk about specifically how that organ or structure supports homeostasis, the ultimate goal of all these body systems. So let's get started. Circulatory system. We compare the circulatory system to the custodial staff in a school. Let's see how that lines up. In terms of structures, you've got the heart, the most recognizable structure of the circulatory system. You've got the blood, so this is going to be a liquid tissue within the circulatory system. And then you've got the blood vessels, which are going to take the blood and specifically tell the blood where to go in the body. It contains the blood, so we don't just have blood sloshing around inside of us. The function, the how of the body system. How does this help homeostasis in our cells throughout our body? The way the circulatory system is going to help us is similar to the way the custodial staff helps the school. The custodians bring good things to the classrooms, such as paper. They take away bad things from the classrooms, such as our classroom garbage. In the same way, your circulatory system is going to transport materials around your body, both good and bad. A specific example we talked about would be how the blood carries oxygen, which enters our body in the lungs, and it takes it to other parts of your body. For example, your head, your hands, your feet. That oxygen, which starts in the lungs, has to go to all of those locations in order for your cells to be cozy, to maintain homeostasis. Well, it's going to be the blood that carries it, just like the custodians carry paper to the copiers throughout the school. Another example would be the blood carrying carbon dioxide, a waste gas, from areas like our feet, which are really far away from our lungs, carries it up to the lungs so that we can then breathe out that waste gas. Same thing with our hands, our head. All those waste gases from all of our cells throughout our body get transported to the lungs where they can finally exit the body. Another example would be heat being carried by the blood. If part of your body is cold, like your hands, your blood vessels can either constrict, they can get smaller so that your blood isn't releasing your heat out of your hands, so you can conserve that heat. Or on the other hand, if you want to cool down, let's say after doing the pacers in gym class, your face blood vessels could actually get larger, causing more blood to go to your face, causing you to be red in the face, and the heat can then leave your body a little easier, cooling you down. Another example would be sugar. We get sugar from our food when it's in our intestines, but the problem is our intestines are in the middle of our body, and our feet, our hands, our head, the rest of our body needs sugar too. We need to make sure that our cells are getting the sugar they need to stay cozy, for homeostasis. Well, your blood is going to carry that sugar all around your body. And that way, even your scalp is going to get sugar from the apple you ate that's sitting in your intestines. So those are all examples of structures and specifically how they carry or transport materials throughout your body. Let's look at the respiratory system next. Lots of different structures here. When you look at them all together, we call that the respiratory tract. That's the what of the respiratory system. Starting with your mouth and nose, going into your throat, eventually into a tube called the trachea, which splits off into two tubes called the bronchial tubes, and eventually down into the lungs. The lungs are not solid. They're actually made of tiny little air sacs or bubbles called alveoli. If you look at the respiratory tract as a whole, it has a really important function. The how does this help with homeostasis, is going to be gas exchange. The respiratory system, we compared that to the loading dock of a school or a business. It's the place where the needed materials enter the building and where the waste materials leave the building. In the case of a school, we could compare it to a delivery company delivering a pallet of copy paper. At the same time, maybe the school gets rid of its garbage at the end of the day through its loading dock. So it's like the entrance to the building where the good materials come in and the bad materials go out. But in the case of your body, it's going to be gases that enter and leave through the respiratory system. The good gas being oxygen, the bad gas being carbon dioxide. So let's look at a specific example. If we look at the bronchial tubes, these tubes coming out of the lungs, those are going to allow oxygen to travel between the air and the lungs. So you've got the outside air here, you've got the lungs here, you need to somehow connect those two. And that the bronchial tubes are one of several tubes that are connected that connect the outside air to your lungs so that the air can get to your lungs and then back out again. We can also look at the alveoli. The alveoli is like the actual loading dock itself. This is the place where the good and bad gas finally trade places. Let's look at the endocrine system. The what? The structure? Glands and hormones. Glands are simply the names for any organs in the endocrine system. All glands have something in common though. They have the ability to make chemicals for your body. Those chemicals are called hormones. So glands are the organs and hormones are the chemicals. As you can see here, there's lots of different glands in the body. Each one makes a specific hormone or chemical. And each one of those has a very specific job or purpose. But we can summarize all of those jobs and purposes by saying that they control cells. When a hormone is absorbed by a cell, it's like a message being received by that cell, a direction, and the cell responds to that message. It's kind of like an order being given in the military. Your cells follow the orders that they are given by the hormones which were made in your glands. Let's talk about a specific example. We talked at length about diabetes. Normally your pancreas makes insulin. So your pancreas would be the gland, insulin would be the hormone. When the insulin is absorbed by one of your cells, the cell opens up passageways in its cell membrane, allowing glucose, a type of sugar, to go into the cell. So your insulin, a hormone, almost acts like a doormat. It creates an opening in the cell membrane, allowing the sugar to go in. Sugar is needed by your cells, by your mitochondria, in order to make energy. So for your cells to stay cozy, for homeostasis to be maintained, you've got to have a nice steady flow of sugar into the cells. That's going to be the job of your insulin. Your insulin is like the doormat. We also talked about testosterone and estrogen. These are chemicals that, when absorbed by your cells, cause them to help develop your male or female characteristics. Another example would be your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands, they kind of look almost like snow on top of a mountain, sitting on top of your kidneys. Adrenal kind of sounds like a word you're probably familiar with, adrenaline. You've probably heard of an adrenaline rush. Maybe when you're playing soccer and you're near the goal and you have the ball. You get an adrenaline rush as you get ready to make the goal. Or maybe you're on a roller coaster ride and you're going down that first big steep hill. You get an adrenaline rush. An adrenaline rush is the result of adrenaline being released by your adrenal glands and being absorbed by your cells in various organs around your body. when it's absorbed by your lungs, your tubes in your lungs actually expand, allowing you to take a deeper breath. When it's absorbed by your heart will beat faster. So adrenaline's a really powerful chemical, and it's made right here at the top of your kidneys in your adrenal glands. Once again, it's an example of controlling your cells. That's the job of all the glands in the endocrine system. Let's talk about connections. Let's talk about how these work together. So we talked about the circulatory, respiratory, and endocrine system in this lesson. They don't work by themselves. In fact, they couldn't work by themselves. First example, the connection between the respiratory and circulatory system. The gases that are exchanged in the lungs of the respiratory system wouldn't do us any good if the circulatory system didn't carry the oxygen, for example, to your cells. You also wouldn't even be able to get carbon dioxide into your lungs if it weren't for the circulatory system carrying that carbon dioxide to your lungs from your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, all the distant parts of your body that are not in the center of your body with your lungs. Let's talk about the circulatory endocrine connection. The hormones that are made in your endocrine system would not be able to be absorbed by your other organs if it weren't for the circulatory system carrying those chemicals to those organs. For example, adrenaline can't make your heart beat faster if your blood doesn't carry the adrenaline from the adrenal gland to the heart. So once again, the circulatory system helps with transport, the endocrine helps with chemicals. The circulatory system transports those chemicals. We can also talk about the connection between the respiratory and endocrine system. Hormones that are carried to the lungs from the glands are going to affect the ability for you to take a deeper breath during an adrenaline rush. We can also connect all three. Your blood in your circulatory system is going to carry the adrenaline from your endocrine system to your respiratory system, allowing you to take a deeper breath. We've got lots of other connections we could talk about here, but the key is gas exchange can't occur if it doesn't get the gases it needs. Hormone production doesn't matter if it's not carried to the organs that need to receive it. Your respiratory system isn't going to work in overdrive unless it's affected by the adrenaline of the endocrine system. These connections all work together to maintain homeostasis. And remember, homeostasis is the ultimate goal here. As long as your cells are maintaining a stable internal environment, if they're getting the oxygen they need, if they're getting the sugar they need, if they're getting rid of their wastes before they build up to dangerous levels. All these things keep your cells cozy, which means your cells stay alive, which means your tissues stay alive, which means your organs stay alive, which means your organ systems stay alive, which means the organism itself is going to stay alive. So cooperation between the organ systems is just as important as their individual functions. They have to be able to work together. And this is why we talked about the domino effect. If one body system fails, then the other body systems will fail as well. And once all your body systems fail, homeostasis stops. Your cells are not cozy, and your cells cannot function. Thanks for listening. And this slideshow will be posted if you want to take a look at it on your own in preparation for any upcoming quizzes. Thank you.